Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Malice in the Mitten. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my bestie, Christine Mulligan. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Trace. So, what are we getting into today? What are you telling me about?
Well, we're going to talk about a woman most people have never heard of. A woman who lived quietly in Detroit in the early 1900s.
Oh, the 1900s. You know, I like these ones. But I'm already getting nervous. What's going on?
Well, it should make you nervous because nothing about this woman stood out. And that's the point.
So, it's the 1900s. Is this a woman who quietly snapped?
No, this is someone who just blended in. She didn't chase anyone. She didn't need to.
Those are always the ones that get under your skin.
Yeah.
The ones that just lurk in the quietness and you don't even know about them. But how do we find out about her? Obviously, we find out about her, so you're going to tell me about her. So, what did she do?
Yeah, because when violence looks ordinary, we just stop looking at all. So let's dive in. This is Season 10, Episode 4, The Quiet Widow, Euphemia Mondich, a Michigan story, history almost erased. This episode contains discussions of murder, poisoning, and domestic violence. It also reflects attitudes and assumptions of the early 20th century that may be disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Now, this episode begins a 3-part investigative trilogy examining women who killed quietly and the history that erased them. A spoon against porcelain makes a very specific sound. It's soft and dull, and it's almost comforting. In a small Detroit kitchen, sometime around 1919, Euphemia Mondich stands at the stove. The windows are fogged with steam. Snow presses quietly against the glass, muting the outside world. Somewhere in the distance, a factory whistle cries out. Long, low, tired. Inside the kitchen, everything is orderly. The spoon moves in slow, deliberate circles. The pot simmers gently. The smell is familiar, safe. The kind of meal a working man expects at the end of a long day. Euphemia tastes the soup. She pauses. Then she adds something small. Not enough to see, not enough to smell, but just enough. This is not a woman in distress. This is not rage or panic or desperation. This is routine. Because poison, when used carefully, does not announce itself. It whispers.
That's the scariest part. But before I get into that it's not frantic or a crime of passion or done out of desperation, it is domestic. It's domesticated violence, so to speak. But the thing is in the 1900s, were these women really poisoning or were they thinking they were helping? Like, are you going to get into that a little bit more? Because there were a lot of things that would poison people that they used to use as medicinal.
True. And we also have to remember what was going on in 1919. The women really were not working. The home was the domain. So I can imagine if you had a husband.
Yeah. So did you want to kill him? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm interested. You got me at the edge of my seat because I'm interested on whether or not I'm gonna think these are murders at all, or if these women were actually thinking they were doing the right thing by, putting silver in their soup. You know what I mean? Or a little bit of mercury before they knew it was poisonous.
Right. What's on the menu tonight? Silver soup.
Yeah, exactly.
And boy, are you going to like it.
So it remains to be seen whether I'm really going to believe that if these are murderous women or if they were just ill-informed. But either way, this is totally domestic.
Totally domestic. Now, Detroit at the turn of the century was a city built on exhaustion. Men worked until their bodies gave out. Women held homes together with routine and restraint. Illness was everywhere. Death was ordinary. And wives, especially the quiet ones, were trusted without question. Euphemia Mondich fit perfectly into this world. She was described in newspapers as modest, soft-spoken, unremarkable, the kind of woman neighbors struggled to remember once she left a room. She married young. Life was hard, and money was scarce. Marriage was less about romance than survival. In this era, a woman's sphere was assumed to be small: the kitchen, the sick room, the marriage bed, and within those spaces, her authority went unquestioned. If a husband fell ill, it was unfortunate, but not suspicious. If he lingered, well, that was nature. And if he died, well, it was God's will. And Euphemia learned early that no one watches the woman pouring the soup.
So if she is a murderous wench, the system itself became part of her weapon.
It sure did.
That's ironic, and I low-key love that. However, I'm still not convinced that it was a weapon at all, or if she was just ill-informed because of the times. So let's see what happens.
All right, here we go. Her husband didn't collapse. He didn't clutch his chest or cry out for help. He slowly withered. It began with nausea, a pain that settled deep in his stomach. Food turned against him. Sleep abandoned him. His body went inward, folding under an invisible weight. Doctors came and went. They offered guesses like influenza, a weak constitution, or just plain old bad luck. Euphemia stayed. She brought water. She wiped his brow. She fed him carefully and patiently. If he suspected her, if the thought ever crossed his mind, he never said it out loud. Because how do you accuse the person bringing you water? When he finally died, Euphemia closed his eyes. Neighbors said she was strong, but what they really meant was she did not cry in public. No autopsy was performed. There was no reason to. Wives did not poison husbands, not in 1919. The second man mattered because repetition breaks illusion. Another relationship, another home, another sickbed, and then the same symptoms. The same slow decline, the same quiet care, the same woman at the bedside. And this time, the doctor hesitated. Not enough to accuse, not enough to name it, but enough to remember. Newspapers began to ask careful questions. Coincidence? They said. Tragic coincidence. But coincidence does not repeat itself so precisely. Someone noticed that Euphemia always prepared the meals. Someone noticed she never appeared ill herself. Someone noticed that death seemed to follow her quietly from home to home.
Okay, so this is where coincidences start becoming patterns. However, is she Munchausen's or is she a murderer? I'm still on the fence.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, like someone noticed she made meals. Well, that was the woman's job.
Yeah, exactly. So I do see the pattern forming. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence of whether she's just an ill-informed housewife making bad soup decisions or is she doing this on purpose? Is she Munchausen's? Is she a Black Widow? I don't know. I need more.
Okay. Now, when police arrived, they did not come in shouting. They came politely. That mattered. They opened cupboards. They examined bottles, powders, containers kept under sinks and behind pans, items no one ever thought to question. Poison residue was found. When Euphemia was asked if she had poisoned the men in her life, she did not deny it. She reframed it. I cared for them. It was not a confession. It was a claim of ownership. The courtroom was packed. A woman accused of murder always drew a crowd. People wanted to see what evil looked like. Well, they were disappointed. Euphemia Mondich did not look like a monster. She sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes forward. No hysteria, no tears, and no pleas. The prosecutor pressed her. You prepared every meal. That was my duty. Every man you loved died. Men die. A reporter later wrote that she spoke as though discussing the weather. The jury did not deliberate long. Guilty. Life imprisonment at Michigan State Prison in Jackson. Euphemia showed no visible reaction. Silence had always served her well. Michigan remembers loud killers. It remembers chaos, blood, spectacle. It forgets women like Euphemia Mondich. Women who killed quietly, with proximity, with patience, with trust. They do not become legends. They just become footnotes. Their victims die in beds, not alleyways. Their crimes are explained away by illness, by fate, by the assumptions we make about who is capable of violence. Euphemia was not alone in this history. She was simply easier to forget. Euphemia Mondich disappeared into Jackson Prison. There were no interviews, no memoirs, and no explanations. Just a woman who stopped stirring pots and began counting days. Perhaps she never thought of herself as a killer. Perhaps, to her, she was simply doing what she had always done, caring, providing, ending things quietly. She never raised a weapon. She never raised her voice. She only raised a spoon. And for a long time, no one thought to be afraid. Now, this story doesn't end with Euphemia Mondich. In the next episode, we will examine why women who kill so often disappear from history and what that silence costs us.
Okay, well, I'm still not convinced. I think just because two men died when they were working, probably in bad conditions, because that was the way of the world in 1919, where men went to work in, I don't know, coal mines and died of lung gunk, or, worked in factories where they were basically like silos and they were rooting their own poison at work. So I'm not totally convinced. I feel like maybe this woman was railroaded, but I'll also go with maybe she was poisoning them because she was so flat affected during the trial and no one ever saw her cry. And, I don't know, maybe she was on the spectrum before we knew about being on the spectrum. Or maybe she was hella abused and she used to like to weaken her men so she can care for them because that's what she thought she should do as a dutiful wife. I don't know. My brain is all over the place with these, but I'll go with it. Let's say they're murderers and let's say they're forgotten because, they don't have all the hype. They don't have, like you said, the blood and gore. But I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I think maybe she was just a patsy for, the times.
I can see your point for sure. And I don't know how young Euphemia was when she was married. It just says she was married young. Now, records back in the 1919, there's not a ton of information, so I don't have those finite details. But again, who knows? I mean, in 1919, what were you when you were getting married? 15, 14? It was pretty young. So I can't really say it's like, okay, because you got to get out of the house, right? Your parents want you to get married off, get you out of the house. Times are hard. Who knows? I mean, life for these young ladies was probably not a good time. And so she's like, you know what? I'm sick of you. It's a perfect opportunity. No one's going to question me. I feed you. My neighbor always says to her husband, you better be nice. I'm the one who makes your dinner. Makes sense. And as we know, poisons, all kinds of stuff was very easy to get your hands on back in the day.
I agree. No doubt. It was easier for women to kill silently. No doubt. If they knew better enough to do it. It's the convincing of whether or not she knew what she was doing. That's what sticks out for me. But we'll see. We got a few more to talk about, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know what's worse. Is one brutal attack worse? I mean, it's sensationalized. It really grabs the headlines. But to poison someone you live with, to know that you're putting poison in someone's food, to watch them patiently as the poison takes effect over time, I don't know. That's pretty brutal to me.
I don't know, but I don't know. We don't know all the rest of the story. What if she was abused and he was really aggressive with her? And when she gave him this, I don't know, arsenic, just to pick one, when she gave him arsenic, he relaxed and stopped beating the hell out of her. So she thought she was caring for him and calming him down. I don't know. There's an argument to be made. That's all I'm saying.
There sure is. Care for you until you just make no more sound, you son of a gun.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. The early 1900s was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets enough attention for sure. So that's our story for today, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. Check us out on TikTok. Like us, comment. Give us a great comment. We would really appreciate a positive review. Oh, and one more announcement. Just a quick note before we go. Starting this week, new episodes of Malice in the Mitten will drop every Monday morning at 6 a.m. right as your week begins. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you all back on Wednesday for Round Robin. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.